Welcome to a most exciting adventure, a breathtaking bobsled ride down the icy slopes of the majestic Matterhorn.
Hello and welcome to Theme Park History, the channel for everything to do with theme parks. Old and new, big and small. In today's episode, we sled through a snow-capped mountain in the Alps as we explore the Matterhorn Bobsleds, a pair of intertwined steel roller coasters that opened at Disneyland on June 14, 1959. This attraction was suggested by all these mountain climbers, so thank you to everyone for the comments. Known as the first roller coaster at Disneyland, as well as the first tubular steel continuous track roller coaster in the world, the attraction takes guests on a thrilling, high-speed ride through the Matterhorn, a mountain located on the border of Switzerland and Italy. Careening through icy slopes, shadowy caves, and snowy chutes, all while avoiding the clutches of the abominable snowman, the Matterhorn Bobsleds has been a truly unique, one-of-a-kind experience that can only be found at Disneyland, as no other Disney park features the attraction. While most mountains are formed when tectonic plates smash together, Disney's first ever mountain was created from a large pile of dirt. During the construction of Disneyland in 1954, the dirt from the excavation of Sleeping Beauty Castle's moat was left in an area between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. Too expensive to haul away, the 20-foot-tall hill was landscaped and blocked off from guests when the park opened on July 17, 1955. Shortly after the grand opening of the Skyway in 1956, which took guests back and forth between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland in gondolas, the blocked-off area would officially open as its own section in the park. Known as Holiday Hill, benches and pathways were added to the top of the hill, offering guests a great view of the park as well as a place to relax, but would quickly become a lover's lane for adventurous park goers. Unhappy that Holiday Hill had become the happiest place on Earth for some guests, Walt Disney began looking at ways to transform the area. Walt proposed the idea of transforming the hill into Snow Hill, covering it with real snow and having guests ride it down on their own toboggan, but was shot down by the park's construction chief Joe Fowler, who believed the idea was a financial and logistical nightmare because the snow would constantly melt due to California's climate. Instead of just creating a stopgap attraction, Disneyland executive Jack Sayers proposed the idea of transforming Snow Hill into a snow mountain, featuring a double-track toboggan-themed Wild Mouse-style roller coaster, as the park lacked any sort of thrill ride at that time. Early in its development, Wet Enterprises, or better known today as Imagineers, came up with many names for the attraction, including Mount Disneyland, Disneyland Mountain, Fantasy Mountain, Echo Mountain, Sorcerer's Mountain, and Magic Mountain. While there were many options to choose from, it wouldn't be until Walt Disney's trip to Switzerland in 1958 that truly inspired the attraction's name and theme. While on location in Zermatt for the production of the live-action film Third Man on the Mountain, Walt became inspired by the beauty of the Matterhorn, so much so that Walt purchased a postcard of the mountain from a souvenir stand and sent it back to the attraction's art director, Imagineer Vic Green, along with the message, "Vic, build this, Walt." From that point on, the attraction would only be known as the Matterhorn Mountain. Construction on the attraction would begin in mid-1958, with Imagineers Bob Gurr, Vic Green, Fred Yager, and Harriet Burns involved. When working on the Matterhorn's design, one goal Imagineers had was to make the mountain large enough to act as a decorative overlay to hide the Skyway's steel support tower on Snow Hill. Disney would hire American Bridge to build the structure of the Matterhorn, with most of the hill removed and the remains demolished into a flat mound. Steel piles loaded with concrete were harbored deep into the flat mound to anchor the structure, with 2,175 individual steel girders installed on top of them to create the mountain's frame. While construction on the structure was taking place, the original Skyway Tower was taken down and a brand new one was built inside, now allowing for gondolas to pass through the mountain when it was finished. Once the structure was built, enough wood to build over 300 houses and 4 acres of cement were used to cover it, along with 2,500 gallons of white resin added to create permanent snow to the upper third of the mountain. Standing at 147 feet tall, the mountain is still Disneyland's tallest structure to this day. Using forced perspective, the Matterhorn is made to look taller than it is by using shorter trees at higher altitudes. Instead of using the Wild Mouse ride system, which used flat rails made of wood featuring wide turns, Bob Gurr approached roller coaster design and manufacturing company Aero Engineering to help create a new kind of ride system that would simulate the feeling of being in a bobsled. The new ride system would utilize tubular steel pipes instead of flat rails, allowing for a quieter, smoother ride along with tighter turns and twists. Attached to the rails, the bobsleds do not have any motors, relying on gravity once they reach the top of the lift hill, and air brakes for safety throughout various parts of the ride. The splashdown pools at the end of the track serve two purposes. Not only does it cool off the braking pads mounted on the underside of the bobsleds, but the impact into the water itself acts as a braking mechanism. Because of their constant exposure to water, the fiberglass bodies of the bobsleds are waxed on a routine basis. The first ever steel roller coaster features 2 separate tracks that climb the inside of the mountain to about 2/3 of the way up before gliding back down and through it. While the 2 tracks are similar, reaching the same max height of 80 feet and a top speed of 27 miles per hour, the Fantasyland track is slightly longer in length and ride duration than Tomorrowland's track. Fantasyland's track is 2,137 feet in length and 2 minutes and 26 seconds long, while Tomorrowland's track is only 2,037 feet in length and 2 minutes and 6 seconds long. Aero Engineering developed a first-of-its-kind system allowing multiple bobsleds to run safely on one track at the same time, invaluable for moving large numbers of guests wanting to experience the ride, costing roughly $1.5 million to build. The Matterhorn Bobsleds would officially open at Disneyland on June 14, 1959. As part of its grand opening, Walt Disney hired the Sierra Club, a group of mountain climbers, to scale the Matterhorn. These climbers would climb the mountain from 1959 to 1979 at least 8 times a day, to pass the time when inclement weather or other conditions were keeping them from their scheduled climbs. The climbers would use the attic of the structure as a place to rest, including a makeshift basketball court and hoop that's still there today. Along with the opening of the monorail and submarine voyage, the Matterhorn would be one of the first e-ticket attractions at the park. Because of its placement between 2 lands, the attraction was first listed as being part of Tomorrowland before switching over to Fantasyland in 1971.
Whenever Walt Disney goes anywhere in the world, he likes to bring back something for the park. And so when Walt was on location last year in Switzerland and saw the Matterhorn, he thought, say, that would make a nice souvenir for Disneyland. Well, there it is. Not the real mountain, of course, because even Walt couldn't bring the Matterhorn back, but he built one exactly to scale, 1/100th the original size, 14 stories high.
Located within Fantasyland, guests enter the attraction at the base of the Matterhorn, a mountain located in Switzerland. Passing by a molding of a footprint belonging to the abominable snowman, guests can choose between one of 2 separate queues as the ride offers 2 different separate tracks, the Fantasyland track and Tomorrowland track, named for the side of the mountain where each queue starts. Guests eventually reach the end of the queue and enter a chalet that doubles as a loading station, where they board their 6-passenger bobsled. Once everyone is on board, the bobsled ascends an 80-foot lift hill into the mountain, climbing past ice walls where the abominable snowman looks on from behind. After reaching the top of the lift hill, the bobsled passes by a collection of things the snowman has collected from the mountain over the years, including a few bobsleds, a bucket from the Skyway, and a crate stamped with Wells Expedition, a tribute to Frank Wells, who was the president of the Walt Disney Company from 1984 until his death in 1994. The bobsled begins its descent down through the mountain, encountering the growling snowman who's looking to add more treasures to his collection. As the bobsled makes its way down the mountain, guests swoop in and out of dark caves along jagged rocky ledges, slide through icy chutes around frozen cliffs, speed across wooden and stone bridges, pass under waterfalls, weave around mysterious glowing ice crystals, and encounter the snowman once more before splashing down in a shallow glacier lake. As the bobsled makes its way to the unloading station, guests hear the now famous safety announcement by the former voice of Disneyland, Jack Wagner.
Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Once they reach the station, guests unload from their bobsled and exit the attraction, depending on which of the tracks guests chose. The 2-minute, 26-second, or 2-minute, 7-second attraction has been met with positive feedback from guests, as many have praised the first thrill ride at Disneyland for the first-of-its-kind ride system and immersive theming, but have also criticized how rough the ride experience can be. Since opening in 1959, the roller coaster has been one of the most popular attractions at the park, offering guests a trip to the snowy Swiss Alps that can only be found at the happiest place on Earth. Throughout the years, various changes have been made to the bobsled experience. While innovative and groundbreaking when it first opened in 1959, the original e-ticket attraction began to show its age by the early 1970s. As a way to inject life into the aging roller coaster, Disney would close the attraction in September 1977 to give it a major overhaul. As part of the refurbishment, many of the holes in the mountain were filled in, and the once hollow interior space was now broken up into smaller icy caves and tunnels, giving the ride a more inclusive and immersive theme. The ride's control system was now computerized, and the bobsleds received a new paint job while also going from one single car to two, connecting to each other and increasing the number of riders per bobsled to 8. Besides the icy caves and updated bobsleds, the biggest addition to the revamped attraction would be the Abominable Snowman. Given the name Harold by Imagineers, plans existed for the audio animatronic to be part of the original attraction in 1959, but budget cuts and scheduling deadlines led to the concept being dropped. Created by Disney Imagineer Steve Kirk, the 3 figures, 2 of which were repurposed audio animatronic gorillas from the Jungle Cruise attraction, were added throughout the Matterhorn, one that could be seen on both tracks, while the other 2 can only be seen on their respective tracks. With the addition of Harold, the ride's story was somewhat tweaked to focus on the legendary monster. Advertised as What's Gotten into the Matterhorn, the campaign for the updated attraction revealed that a large ape-like creature, standing between 7 to 9 feet tall with a thunderous roar measuring up to 6.9 on the Richter scale, has been seen lurking the icy caves of the Matterhorn, waiting to terrorize any bobsledders he comes across. After a 9-month refurbishment, the updated attraction would reopen on May 27, 1978. After its reopening, the attraction would remain the same until 1994 when 2 changes took place within the mountain. A brand new ride scene was added to the attraction, a grotto filled with glimmering crystals and a crate labeled Wells Expedition that guests pass by once they reach the top of the lift hill, and the holes the gondolas traveled through in the mountain were filled in as the Skyway officially closed at Disneyland on November 9, 1994. The attraction's next major refurbishment wouldn't take place until January 2012, in which the bobsleds once again received a new paint job along with a change in how passengers were seated. While still linked together, instead of the lap-sitting arrangement of 2 riders for the front front seat. Each bobsled seat would now only accommodate a single passenger, reducing the number of riders per bobsled from 8 to 6. The most extensive work done during the attraction's refurbishment was to the exterior of the mountain, for only the second time in the attraction's lifespan, the first being when it was under construction. Scaffolding covered the entire mountain to be repainted. While the Matterhorn had been repainted on multiple occasions over the years, Disney wanted their mountain to look more like the actual one in Switzerland. To make that happen, it meant painting the mountain to feature more snow on its north side and less on the south, leaving the base with little to no snow. To make the snow look real, glass beads were mixed into the white paint used for the snow to reflect sunlight, just like actual snow does. After a 6-month refurbishment, the updated attraction would reopen on June 15, 2012. As part of the 60th anniversary Diamond Celebration at the Disneyland Resort, it was announced on January 5, 2015. The classic attraction would close down once again to update it with new effects and audio animatronics. After a 4.5-month refurbishment, the attraction would reopen on May 22, 2015. A new animated effect was added during the lift hill sequence. The glimmering crystal scene was replaced with a collection of things Harold has salvaged from the mountain over the years, including previous versions of bobsleds and a gondola from the Skyway, and the abominable snowman animatronics were replaced with more lifelike, menacing figures. While removed from the mountain, one of the original animatronics can be found within Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout at Disney's California Adventure. Located in the rafters of the Fortress Q, guests will easily see the King of the Matterhorn, now part of the Tavan collection. For over 60 years, the Matterhorn Bobsleds has been a marquee attraction that can only be found at Disneyland. While one of the first ever e-ticket attractions might be regarded tame by today's standards, the roller coaster was a thrilling experience unlike anything else when it opened in 1959. Due to its overwhelming success, the attraction would become the inspiration for future mountain-based Disney thrill rides, including Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and what many consider to be its spiritual successor, Expedition Everest. If there's one attraction that has had such a long-lasting impact at Disney parks, it's the adventure through the caves and icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So that is the theme park history of the Matterhorn Bobsleds. As always, thank you for watching the video and supporting the channel. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if there's any attraction you would like us to cover in a future video, leave a comment down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, what do you call an abominable snowman who's always late? A not Yeti. No? I figured as much.
Abominable! Can you believe that? Do I look abominable to you? Hey, why can't they call me the adorable snowman or the agreeable snowman, for crying out loud?